Hamill, all right, taken in 2013. So basically, what does he mean here? What does he mean by all this like gibberish of like, you had, X amount of $1 million being made, CEOs, the future, the vision, service economy, and so forth. And I'll tell you in one small sentence, okay? The small sentence that happens here is very simple. What he means here is very simple. He talks about management, and we have to be blunt by here. Management basically is the least efficient activity in your company. That's it. He mentioned that management are useless people. Okay, that's what he mentioned. And the idea here is that he sees management as creating a hierarchy and ruining projects, ruining innovation, ruining communication, not even understanding the whole goal of the customer. Okay, and there's people on the front lines. People, when you talk about airline companies, especially in Canada, they're getting a huge brunt from here. Okay, they're delayed. They have so much issues. Everybody has a cell phone. They take pictures. Does management care about this? Does management ever focus on it? No. I had the pleasure once of taking a plane of WestJet to New York City for a meeting. And on my plane, there was the CEO of WestJet, okay? And what he does is that even though he's a CEO and he should technically be flying private, he says, no, I'm gonna fly with the people, with my customers. I wanna see exactly what they do and how they enjoy me. And he says, listen, if I have any area of expertise, I want to make sure that this expertise will be done all together. And a lot of times when we start to talk about the area of expertise, one of the things that we're going to be talking about is understanding those specific integrations and understanding a little bit more on what we are going to focus on in the company. So nonetheless, of course, when you look at a company, every company has a hierarchy and a centralized decision-making company. As decision gets bigger and bigger, the ranks of those able to challenge the decision gets smaller and smaller. So basically what's gonna happen, the bigger the company is, the idea of choices and making a powerful decision gets smaller, okay? So the problem here is that, let's say there's a problem with a customer, all right? Or there's something that, lower level floors or somebody in the lower hierarchy saw that they want to make a change. If they do not get closer to the customer, or sorry, closer to the management, then they have to go piece by piece by piece by piece to get to the final conduct. And that will take forever. Okay, so it means that I need solutions today. However, the solutions will all be made in the future. How would that help me? It'll take 2 months until I get a yes or no. Okay, that is not acceptable. So again, powerful managers are sometimes losing their reality. They're disconnected. And the problem is that, I told you about WestJet CEO. Some of these CEOs do not grasp the reality that the company's in. And that could really hurt them, okay? No room for innovation, no room for change. Basically, it's, we call it broken telephone, where I tell you something in a secret, you make your own assumptions, tell somebody else, and then all of a sudden I say ABC, and somebody says to me NPO or XYZ. All right, they're not on the same page. They're using the same letters, they're just not on the same page. So it's very dangerous when the decision maker is powerful and there's so much power up top and nothing in the bottom, and you cannot hold the item constant in the organization. So what organizations do a lot of times, instead of centralization, they create multi-tiered management systems where the slow decisions making process, you need to have approval first from manager before doing any decision. So as long as you get some form of multi-tiered management, instead of waiting 2 months for a decision, Now the goal is let's wait a couple of weeks and we'll get to where we need to go. Okay. There is going to be a bias of sorts. It also kills the new ideas coming in employees' mind. Okay. And what we're going to be doing is a lot of times, whenever we are going to make sure the multi-tiered system should be there, we have to decide how it will fix our economies. Okay. So when you look at hierarchies versus the real market, according to one economist, Dr. Ronald, Dr. Ronald, he said that markets work well when the need of each party is very simple. Okay, you get a need, you fix a need, you need some help, you get some help. Everything is stable, everything is clear. You specify what the area of expertise is, but they are less effective when interaction become expensive. Okay, so again, when you look at hierarchies versus the market, think about open software. Okay, meaning that the software is open. We have a process of giving maybe profit, but it's open for everybody, so everybody can go in the market. Okay, so when you are a programmer and you have an open source software and you specialize in it, this means you can sell it on your behalf. And the way you make a profit here is you license it to other people and you now become a consultant. Okay, so when I was doing a lot of consulting, one of the things I specialized in is a software called ERP, Enterprise Resource Planning. And many companies for a long time, they were making quite a lot of money on it. And then it cost even more money. So then they decided, well, what's more profitable? So what occurred here was that a lot of times they give us open source software where it's open for everybody. It's free to download, but in order for you to subscribe to it, it will cost you an X amount of money per month. And I don't run it. I only sell it to you. All right. And I become a consultant, basically giving you all these new ideas. Okay. Putting together, understanding your company, tailorizing it, customizing it to what you would like, and giving it to you all at the same time. Okay. So the crazy part about an open source software is that if I was to give you a really bad service, I don't think that they would blame me per se, but they all can also blame the software, even though the software won multiple awards and other people gives you a amazing idea, amazing software on it. Okay. So the idea here is that consumers has freedom and consumers have a choice. So the question now is, can we have the choice in management as well? So a lot of times as a consumer, you have the freedom to spend $20,000 or more to buy a new car. But as an employee, you don't have the authority to request a $500 or 500% better chair. Okay. So the mindset is that individual scope of authority is you shrink the incentives to the dream and imagine and contribute on what it can give you. So beyond management as usual, one of the things that's tough to imagine in a company is where there's no one has to be a boss. And that's a vision that Gary does. He doesn't want any bosses. He wants to make sure that employees will be responsible for one another. Oh yeah, Netta, you had a question?
I have a comment and a question
regarding
hierarchy. Because do you think it's okay that it's correct to say that when marketing goes beyond local marketing and goes like international or global marketing, right, then hierarchy is something that we cannot avoid because at the end of the day, we need some kind of, let's say, alignment or synergy. Otherwise, it will be, I mean, for example, I see in the websites of some of big companies that they say that, okay, we are focusing on decentralized management. But in reality, that's not something that is happening.
Correct. And you're talking in the scope of international business, right?
Yes.
International marketing. And that's a good case, because the problem is that when you look at a company that's really successful and it's well abroad in other locations, one of the biggest problems is making sure that every location is nurtured. Okay. So when you look at some of these countries have big business. It makes sense for us to go into those countries, meaning to create a new hierarchy and decide on how management will be done in a foreign country. The only problem here is that when you look at these countries, some of these countries are very small. So it means that, you only have like, 2, 4, 5 million people in that country. So you have to decide a little bit more about, should I, invest in this country, or should I give them, expertise, tell them this is your responsibility and you go and do it. Okay. So take, for example, Honda. Okay. Honda likes decentralization. Why? Well, they know that some nations, some international markets are very profitable. For example, Canada. Canada's very, very profitable, and so profitable that they invested into a factory, the Honda manufacturing plant in Alliston, Ontario. But the fate of Honda Canada lies in management. So the way that they're structured in Canada is their success or failure. Okay. So the only thing that they do, Honda International with Honda Canada, is that they sell to them the cars and do marketing. Okay. That's about it. Everything else is their responsibility. So they can really fail on it. Okay. But we're talking about a very successful organization in a new market. What if I told you, well, what about a country like Dominican Republic? Okay. Not that big, not that small, a little bit medium, but that country might have a specific, like we saw, open source type organization where you have multiple agents working. And these agents, they don't only work for you, they also work for, say, Mazda and Nissan and Volvo. And now they're a group which doesn't have anything to do with us. And they work on behalf of Honda, but they also are a subset of, say, Honda USA. So this kind of hierarchy says to them that you cannot put the same kind of success in every country. Every country needs to have their own sort of authorization. And every country can also fail as well.
Okay, yes, now I understand.
Because you have to kind of tailor to it. You kind of have to decide, should I create a hierarchy in that country, the same hierarchy in another country, or should I have a hybrid mix where it could be sort of like a sort of success story that we have, of course, in Honda Canada, or it could be a distribution where you have one group who has no name that just buys the cars just to bring to the island.
Yeah.
So it can work both ways. But more or less, the goal that Gary mentioned here was that he looks about having no bosses, okay? Making sure that the employees make the right choices, because the employees are in different locations, in different circumstances, learn from their peers, grow with their peers, and everyone in the company can spend the company's money and the company's resources. There are no titles and no promotion. Basically, you're not what you're supposed to do. You are the company, okay? So I know that a lot of my students might be from different programs. Some of you guys are in, I believe, Ned, are you in international business, global business? Any business?
No, marketing management.
Marketing management.
Perfect.
Yes. Marketing management. Anybody else in a different program? Marketing.
Strategic management.
Strategic management. Which one, Caroline? Carolina?
Sa Hindi Malo, Santa Maria Loreto, strategic management.
Yeah. Strategic management.
All right. So strategic management, marketing management, international business, possibly something else. Basically, when you go out there, you want a title, okay? You want to be a strategic manager. You want to be a line manager, okay? But a lot of times, especially when you become like an accountant, a lot of times you can transfer the title into other companies. So now you work at Honda Canada, you're an accountant. You can become an accountant at, say, KPMG, which is a consulting company. Or you can go and work at RBC. Or you can work at oil and gas company, whatever it is, government even. So a lot of times people do not say to, when you meet those people, they do not come up to you and say, oh, you know what? I'm really, I'm not the company. I'm really the title, meaning I am an accountant by trade. Okay. But the idea that Gary says is that don't be the name of the trade, be the company. I am IBM. I am Microsoft. I am Tim Hortons. I am, Samsung. I am Stanley. Okay. I am the company. Okay. And basically what we want is to make sure that you understand what the company does, because like a CEO, sometimes CEOs do not know what the company do really. And sometimes they are so misaligned that it becomes a problem. Okay. So again, compensation decisions are peer-based. Okay. The peers decide how much you're compensated properly. Usually it might be a split. Every individual is responsible for acquiring the tools and the tools, we call it, needed to do their work, and making sure that they're up on their par, and making sure that we can reduce management as much as possible. And the reason why we want to reduce management is that when you look at a company and expenses, unfortunately, managers add what we call overhead, okay? As a company grows, the cost of management will rise in both the absolute term and the relative terms, meaning that the managers, when the company grows, will say, listen, my company went from like 5 people to 1,500 people in a matter of 20 years. I deserve a raise. Or the fact that when Gary said that Ford went from like X amount of cars to like 1.5 million cars in just 10 years, that's pretty impressive. So managers will definitely come to you and say, well, I want more money because I deserve more money. And of course, I want more managers. So all of a sudden you create this ugly hierarchy. And I just want to give you an example of how the hierarchy looks like. So let's assume that you are the CEO. You have like a dozen managers below you. They're called the executive vice presidents of sorts. And then below you, you have other different managers as well. So normally, if you have, for example, 100,000 individuals working in your company in different departments, in different fields, in different ideas, what's going to happen is that you are going to have more managers up on the top to look at the ratio. And those managers have to manage themselves. And then you have basically a medium manager, a lower level manager, a line manager, a supervisor, a director, and it becomes very tricky. Okay. So tricky is that when you look at, of course, at a company like, a bank, RBC, CIBC, TD, BMO, whatever you bank with, these companies are huge. And I don't think it's huge for the good part, okay? Because when you talk to somebody, and even when I look at my LinkedIn profile, I can tell you that I have over 200 people on my LinkedIn profile that are part of my network, and they are either senior vice presidents or directors. Okay, so the question now is, how many directors does this company have? Okay, and it seems that not only you can be a director at the head office, like we saw here, but then you can become a regional director and a regional VP. Okay, so it means that if you're a regional VP at, say, Calgary, do you have a higher standing than, say, a headquarter VP as well? And then it becomes different classes and so forth, okay? So here's a problem with having 100,000 workers and a ratio of, say, for every 100 worker, you have 1 manager, all right? Because if you have this particular ratio here, you're gonna add to your company all these new managers that are gonna be in the line managers. And then when you do the calculation, all of a sudden, this means that if you add different managers and do the ratios, and then the managers have to be managed by other managers, what's going to happen here is that you have basically around 11,000 new people that are just going to be kind of in the middle between that manager, the other manager, and how to manage the managers. okay? So all of a sudden, when you look at productivity, it becomes a waste, okay? And the calculation just does not make sense, okay? So it means that in order to police 100,000 people, you need over 11,000 people to manage those 10,000 people so that your company, according to most managers today, are going to be managed properly, okay? And it creates this web of unknowns and departments that you never even hear about, and all these problems within a company, okay? All because of hierarchies. So for the example I gave you, let's assume that each manager earns 3 times the salary of the average salary of their first level employee. When we look at the numbers, management is very expensive, okay? So a lot of times when a company hits the downturn and it's a recession, company is not making enough profit, they sit down together and they start to jot down, what do we do? Normally, the first level of cuts are with the first level employees, okay? Because the management employees, they have protection. So usually you cut them out, okay? Unless you're union, maybe union will protect you, but in most cases, it's the first line workers, okay? There's too many of them. Just cut them out, okay? And all of a sudden, you're left with too many managers, and sometimes the managers have to take the responsibility of the individuals, okay? So a lot of times what will occur here is that there will be an increased risk going on. So as the decision becomes bigger, the ranks of those able to challenge the decision get smaller and smaller. So all of a sudden, you go to your manager, assuming that they're powerful, turns out that they're not. All of a sudden, they need to get authorization from their manager. And their manager has to go to the director, and the director goes to the senior vice president. And you think the senior vice president has a solution? No, he's going to go to the executive senior vice president. And then the executive senior vice president says, well, that's a new story. I'm going to go up to the other hierarchy, okay? And it just doesn't stop. It doesn't get to the point where we have a solution, okay? So again, the most powerful managers are the ones furthest in the front lines from reality. And unfortunately, they do not get the whole story. And unfortunately, they're so disconnected from the reality that they may not make the right decisions at the end of the day, unfortunately. But now let's, guys, have no fear. You also have some speed bumps along the way. Sometimes multi-tiered management structures means that when you have the speed bumps, you have a slowdown of innovation and change. So as I mentioned, when you have more managers up in the top, the structure means that you need more approval. You need more people to sign off on it, and you'll get a slower response, okay? But when you look at too many managers and too many authorizations, and we call that bureaucracy, one thing that could occur here is that, innovation and ideas, dreams could be easily killed as well. So sometimes we call this a dream killer, where because you have a structural hierarchy, this will disempower low-level employees. So a lot of times when an employee has an interaction with a customer, we have something called MOT. Has anyone heard before what MOT is? Maybe at school, maybe at work somewhere. MOT or MOT? MOT? Nope. Nope. MOT? MOT? Nope. All right. MOT stands. Yes, Devanshi? Nope. No. All right.
Yeah, actually, I was about to say I have heard the term, but then I
What is
don't know
it?
what exactly it does or mean,
Okay.
because like when people are discussing, right? So I've heard the term, but I don't know
Do
exactly.
you know what it stands for?
Not really.
Oh, okay.
Like
No
I've
problem.
just heard people discussing it while so
All right. So
sorry.
MOT, no problem. MOT stands for moment of truth. The moment of truth, okay? Moment of truth is when you have a really disgruntled customer and they are done with you guys, but somehow the moment of truth came in and you tell them, I'll do whatever it takes for you, okay? So moment of truth might be when a customer comes to you and says, I had food here, I'm not too happy. The food's not good, not well cooked. I'm not happy. So the moment of truth is that, listen, I'll do whatever it takes, or you have to bring a manager who's very busy and have them talk to that customer, okay? That wastes everybody's time. So the idea is that if you empower individuals, they will get change for you, okay? So if you tell them we can change the wheel faster, we can do things much easier, this can empower people. And the way you can empower people is that you give them ideas, you help them contribute, they collaborate to the bigger area. And the goal is that you want to make sure that any empowerment can be changed. So when we get to the moment of truth, the moment of truth tells us that if you find a simple solution, you make the power to make change, none anybody else, okay? It doesn't matter if you're going to lose the company money. If a customer comes up to you and says, listen, I bought the product, it was not good, give me another one or a refund, you will make the decision, okay? So there's a lot of moment of truths at Costco, okay? A lot of times Costco, because if you're a member of Costco, they will take anything back from you, okay? So one of the biggest hacks I would find, but I think they kind of find it very easily who does it. One of the biggest hacks is whenever somebody buys a computer, every so often they get a new version of that computer, okay? So let's assume today you need a computer for your school, all right? What you can do is you can go and purchase a laptop from them, and then afterwards return it with no receipt or anything, anytime, okay? So people, a lot of times they return TVs from them, they return food, anything, they'll return it, okay? And the reason is moment of truth, okay? They have a moment of truth where when you don't oblige, they say, listen, you've been for the last 6 years, every 2 years, you're buying a computer, returning it, returning it, we catched on and we're not going to accept it. At Costco, they'll accept it, okay? Because the idea is not everybody will do what you're doing, okay? So basically the moment of truth is satisfaction guaranteed. And the problem is that you need only 1 or 2 managers to approve it. That's it, all right? So you have to go to the line manager, tell them, can I return it? And then the line manager has to be empowered to do so, okay? And again, the reason why this happens is because their suppliers agree on it. The suppliers say, listen, if nobody likes it, even after a couple of years, you can return it and we'll take it back, okay? And if that does happen, then you can empower your employees and the employees can be more creative, find solutions, and let managers manage versus having them micromanage everybody else, okay? So you shrink a dream, you shrink an imagination, and definitely nobody contributes. But beyond management, guys, every single one of you guys has to acquire the needed tools and the activities to do really well, okay? So a lot of times beyond management, the idea for our fear today is that no one has to be a boss. The company, you can imagine a company that what it could be, everybody could do the same. Everyone has the tools required. There's no title for you. You're just a worker in the company, contributing to the success of a company. And your teammates will contribute or will decide on your compensation, what they believe you are worth, okay? Most of the time, employees can negotiate responsibilities with the peers, meaning that we can split apart things. And even though you're manager, you can split apart some of the management roles, some of the IT roles so that you can have a hybrid lifestyle and a hybrid work environment. And everyone can spend the company money, okay? Meaning that if they need something, they can spend it on something that the company needs in order for the company to be productive, okay? When we come back, guys, the time right now is 1:30. When we come back, I want to talk a little bit about a company that actually succeeded in doing this holacracy, okay? And when we come back, I want to show you that company and show you exactly what they do and how they do it well. Let's take a break, freeze a little bit, guys. Take a hiatus, and when we come back, we will start talking about that company of the future, okay? Don't go away anywhere, guys. We'll take a break, and I'll write the break time. Timer now is 1:30. Take a break till 1:40, guys, and we will be back.
Great, thank you.
You're very welcome, guys. Have a good one, and don't leave Zoom class. See you soon, okay? And I'll put it up there so everybody can see it with this one missing. And then this one up here. All right, perfect. Okay, does anyone have any questions? Any questions? Good. Once, going twice.
No, Professor, thank you.
You're very welcome, Carolina. All right, sold to the break. Enjoy. Have a good one, guys. All right. Welcome back, everybody. Hope you had yourself a good break and things are going up your alley. So we talked about the theory that Gary Hamel had about firing managers, getting rid of them, saying to yourself, forget them, they're nonsense, they're a complete waste of time. What can we do to make our company better? And some companies, what they did is called holacracy, where we saw last half of the class, where everyone gets the tools needed, no title, no promotion. You get compensated based on what people think about you. Employees negotiate responsibilities. The company has like X amount of money. Just take whatever you need to be better, bigger. Everybody imagines how the company wants to grow, and nobody's your boss. Okay, so nobody tells you when to show up, when to not show up, and so forth. Okay, so now a question goes in your head is that what kind of clown company is this? Well, the name of the clown company is holacracy, but actually some companies actually did do holacracy, and did listen to Gary Hamel. Okay. So nonetheless, a few of them did it. And one of the companies that did it, which is called, I know this may sound funny. It's called Morningstar, which is actually a tomato processing firm. Okay, they process tomatoes, they're a farm. Yeah, Naveen, you had a question? Breathe in, breathe out. Oh, nope, Naveen, okay. So Morningstar is a company that farms tomatoes. And basically, to give you a bit of what they are and who they are, formed about 53 years ago in 1970. They're located in sunny California. They are known as the world's most prolific tomato growing region and tomato growing company. And the bulk of their business is making regular tomato, ketchup, tomato paste for, I guess, extra food, pasta, diced tomatoes, and tomato juice, okay? You want to talk tomatoes? You talk to that guy. But over 25% of the California processing tomato production, supplying 40% of the US, comes from Morningstar, okay? So Morningstar is kind of like that silent company you never even hear about, okay? Yet, you go to McDonald's, you pop, Heinz tomato. Heinz tomato will use Morningstar's recipe, Morningstar's supplies to get that item to you, okay? So what do they have and what do they need? Currently, as of 2010, or not currently, about a decade ago, they had about 40 employees, revenues in the excess of 700 million. And basically they formed a self-management institute in 2008 to research and educate groups focusing on developing organizational assets and system and ideas to self-manage themselves, okay? So what they do is that they go in and they self-manage their own system, okay? This means that they go in it and there's no management, okay? The people are the managers, okay? The question that you might want to ask yourself, does it work? Does it not? How does a company work like this, okay? Basically, can I come in whenever I want? Can I take money as much as I want? Maybe I have a friend who may be hired in this company. Can I just charge her whatever I want? And these questions are relevant. So they listened to Gary Hamel. They practiced and they preached it. And then they created a self-management system called Holacracy. So what I want to show you once again is how they formulate. And if you get your attention together, please, I would like to give you another brief video of what they do. I'm going to share my sound as always, and not this video, but I'm going to show you the other video. And I want to introduce you guys to Tomato, Morningstar's radical approach to management, and see for yourself if this kind of management is what you want in the future. Okay, enjoy. Everything is coming up tomatoes, fried green tomatoes. Enjoy.
I love working here at Morningstar.
To me, it's unlike the government, you know. We have a lot of freedom here.
I love this job. I plan on working here until I retire because it's so different.
Self-management is at a very, very high level, exactly the way you live when you go home from work. We just ask you to keep that hat on when you come to work at Morningstar. The Morningstar was founded in 1970 by Chris Roofer. He was at the time a college student at UCLA, and he leased his first truck, a big rig, and started hauling tomatoes into and out of factories. And over a few years of doing that, he kind of had some thoughts about how factories could be run. And in 1990, he started what was the Morningstar Packing Company's very first facility in Los Banos, California. We've grown since 1990 to 3 very large facilities. Those facilities process about 40% of California's processed tomato crop. We are the largest processor of tomatoes in the world. So who's the boss? I think in a traditional organization, there's kind of a very rigid interpretation of who the boss is.
We have no bosses here at Morningstar.
I have no boss. So, well, everybody's basically a boss.
When you come on board at Morningstar, you and the colleagues around you are expected to kind of take a time out, sit down, examine yourself, your competencies, your what you have to bring to the table, the things you're trying to achieve in your career and in your life, and to organize your work accordingly. And as long as you are achieving your mission and the enterprise is achieving their mission, there really aren't a whole lot of boundaries around how that works.
And you really, what you're doing is you're working with other business units. You know, I may want to get something done on the operations side. So what I have to do is, not because I'm the so-called head of quality or whatever your job title would supposedly be, you need to go and you need to negotiate with another business unit. Maybe it's the evaporation guys, and we need to negotiate, but at the end of the day, it's what's best for the company.
We don't have a structured hiring process.
Here at Morningstar, as a group, as a family, we're involved and we make those decisions together.
You hire the right people, you get the right person in the job, you don't need to micromanage them. There is no micromanaging here, and it's really a breath of fresh air, to be honest with you.
Politics as a kind of concept is probably the absence thereof within Morningstar is probably the most interesting thing that most people notice almost immediately. You know, there's no kind of trying to climb the ladder or vying for resources that are kind of scarce and being doled out by somebody.
All of us are free to, you know, buy what we need to buy to do our job right.
It's not that there is unlimited funds. It's simply that you have the ability to expend the resources you need as long as you get the appropriate, you know, get people involved who have expertise and are going to be affected by it. You have the ability to spend the money.
If I need to spend $80,000 on a lab instrument, I buy the lab instrument. At my other company, that doesn't fly. Not only would I not get it, the process to get to that point is very difficult.
The things that quash people are overwhelming bureaucracy and red tape, inability to do the things that you know beyond a shadow of a doubt are the things that need to be done.
I think the people on the floor are probably the best ones to make the decisions, you know. We see it run, we've done the maintenance on it, we know more about it than anybody.
Kind of fundamental to our way of doing things is that the person with the most insight, the most knowledge should be the person making the decision, period, end of story.
Knowledge is what gets you respect here, not a job title.
We've pushed the fundamentals of management out to everyone in the enterprise. We've also pushed the fundamentals of creativity and innovation out to everyone in the enterprise. Very explicit about the fact that the most important thing within an organization is improvement.
The best thing for me working here at Morningstar is I'm constantly learning, constantly growing, constantly being exposed to things I normally wouldn't be exposed to.
I think I've improved our dice area a lot the last 3 years.
I started with other colleagues' help, a full document control program.
We added a product hopper to one of our lines, so we increased the line speed from 80 cans a minute to about 150 cans a minute.
I think most human beings have some internal drive that they want to do good things that create some sort of benefit for people.
It's very good to feel like you're bringing in value to a company.
Historically, the most prosperous, happiest human societies on a very macro scale are those societies that are built on the same fundamental principles. And so our thought is that, hey, if that works with a whole lot of people, can it work with not quite as many people within the confines of, you know, a company?
Everybody takes a lot of pride in what they do here. I think the self-management kind of breeds that. It breeds accountability.
I feel like Morningstar is mine. I believe all of us here take ownership, and that's one of the things that makes it great.
When work follows you home, but in a good way, when it helps you feel good about what you're doing, that kind of growth rubs off into personal life.
What Morningstar has kind of become is a place where people learn what it means to have true individual freedom and personally be responsible for their actions. And that's actually a very invigorating thing for most people. And so over time, they start to kind of embed this into their personality, into their fundamental character. And they kind of carry that away when they leave Morningstar, which is a very kind of interesting phenomenon.
I've grown much more here at Morningstar than I think I could ever have grown in my other jobs.
I'm very proud to work here, very proud.
Morningstar, tomatoes, but there is more than just fried green tomatoes there. It's a business system where everybody basically, where everybody basically creates their own destiny. And definitely when you create your own destiny, people are empowered, okay? So you can clearly see it. I need something, I will buy it, okay? Nobody will tell me what to buy, okay? You have to make good decisions because at the end of the day, your decisions dictate exactly where the company is going and how the company will succeed, okay? So let's unpack this whole idea of tomatoes and Morningstar. The idea of Morningstar is very simple, okay? The team members are managing themselves. Normally, you're not going to have somebody who doesn't specialize in something that will be in a position that they're not supposed to be in. So they have industry participants. They have people who go out there, talk to the industries. They will have directors. They will have customer service representatives. They will have individuals that work with communications, coordination, colleagues, and so forth. And they will come together and they will create that model of success. Okay. And the game plan, but that's not highly technical business. Is it? Well, it's how they perceive it. They are selling to you that the company was actually pretty good. But now the question is, can it run? And then, like we mentioned, people can just show up whenever they want for the work and not be productive. So instead of management supporting you, the idea here is that it's actually the workers who will kind of dictate your future. And I guess, with Meta, that's the way they kind of perceive it. But can it work with every company? I don't think so, but it can work for some. And that's where, Gary's idea might come in. How do you handle conflicts? Because too much freedom is dangerous. Some may be too greedy. You can handle it very well because a lot of times when you look at it, employees negotiate responsibilities and also can negotiate decisions, okay? So definitely it's the workers who decide on where the future might lead to, okay? So it's all down to the workers themselves, and the workers will definitely, first and foremost, make the mission the boss. Not make the boss, but the mission of the company is the boss. So if I tell you our goal is that we want to increase sales, that's a boss, okay? Not a human being telling me do this, do this, do this, and then you'll get that. The mission is, there is a plaque out there that says we want to increase customer service, and that should be the boss, okay? Not a human being dictating what the boss is, but not even, or a human being saying he's the boss, but not delivering. So that's where the idea is. The idea was that, unfortunately, so many companies, their management are so disconnected that it becomes a personal problem. And I believe that a couple of you were worried about the structure of this company, okay? Neta, can we go to work? Can we go and work there? It's not highly technical, but you want to work there. But depends if you want to work there or not, or if there's conflicts and greed. Nonetheless,
but the experience, sorry to interrupt you, but I
Yeah.
think the experience is worth it because it's a
might be.
total different concept.
It's a whole different concept. But the thing
Yeah.
is, if you go in there, you might not come out. All right. And then when you find another job, you're going to tell them like what you do there. I used to be a tomato. What kind of tomato were you? So it's really hard to transfer that somewhere else. So once you're in it, I don't think you want to get out. But there is a fine line here because we have to have rules and regulations like any other, democracy out there. And we have to let the employees, first and foremost, create and forge the agreements, meaning that there has to be rules in place. We cannot just assume that, this unfunctional company can be functional. We have to make the rules in place to make sure that everybody is following it and everybody knows exactly what they're doing, okay? So a lot of times when we start to look at the idea of the area of management, we start to understand that freedom isn't the enemy of coordination. And when we look at coordinating leadership, organizational units, or we call it CLOs, the coordination, leadership, organization units create the structure, okay? So the idea here is that freedom isn't the enemy of maybe coordination, it's your ally, okay? Freedom says that you can do a lot of things possible, but if you're coordinating so well, you're stuck with the 9 to 5 rigid, meaning that some people, they only are capable of working 9 to 5, all right? What if I'm comfortable working, say, 8 in the morning till 3 o'clock? What if I'm comfortable working at 11 to 7 o'clock? Nobody's your boss and everybody's your boss, okay? Meaning that if you do really poorly in this company, you're going to be treated very poorly by your other coworkers, okay? Because your other coworkers, they signed the agreement. And if you do not meet the agreement, It means you're not a team player, okay? But the idea of the agreement is to empower everyone, okay? To make sure that you can get to tell someone, get this done, and make sure that I need this. And you have to do whatever needs to be done to make sure that everybody is on the right page, okay? Don't, bully people, don't mob them, and don't force people to be inside their box. The idea here is you want to think outside the box here, and you want to empower everyone so that everyone can be uplifted. So that means if you're in a team, everyone's a captain, everyone's a leader, everyone has the same goals as you do. The way I see it, Morningstar is allowing their people unleash their own talents by not wanting for any commands, as long as they do their job when they're good. All right, but when they're good, but what if they're not good? All right, that could be a problem. So this leads to a lot of problems, but the idea here is that not everyone is at 100%, okay? Some people are new, some people might not have the knowledge and not have the skills. So the idea here is to not force people into boxes, okay? Everyone has the right to suggest something of an improvement in any given case, okay? It means that we are not going to enforce these regulations on them. We're not going to create a situation that is unhealthy, and we're not going to make a situation where everyone can put people in a different position, okay? The idea here is everyone has a right to suggest improvements in any area, meaning that if you're in an area of lower level, you can suggest improvements to the hierarchies to make sure that we can work together. Another thing that's very important at Morningstar is to encourage competition for impact, okay? Competition for making change, competition for being better, competition for getting the problem solved. Not competition for, I did all these things for the company, promote me. Why? There's no promotion in this company, okay? You are the company, okay? And your goal is that you want to wear different hats every single day to make sure that you could be part of the company's goals, okay? So to build what Morningstar has done, and again, like we mentioned, it seems like a good company to work in, but not everyone can be a part of this whole model. It doesn't work for them, okay? And from what I've read, there are people who walked into Morningstar and left because it just didn't make sense for them. And that's fine. Listen, we're not preaching for anybody here. We're trying to create a certain goal, and sometimes the goal may be workable with people, may not, okay? So the goal here is number one, write down a personal mission, okay? Write down a goal that you would want to make. So everybody writes what they want, and then we correlate together and see if everybody has the same mission. Number two, if you're trying to build a self-managing organization, look for small ways to expand the scope of the employee's autonomy, meaning that the workers need to do something, they need to specialize in something, but give them authority, give them freedom, give them a way to say to themselves, I can balance my day. I can say to themselves, listen, every Monday in the summer, I'm going to come late to work. Why? Because I'm going to be at my cottage. Okay. However, I will make it up somewhere, either on Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, or possibly I'm going to stay late on Monday to make it up. Okay. So those kind of autonomies are their choice. Okay. As long as they finish the job. And according to one individual that talks about self-managing organizations, Paul Green says, we have a lot of spontaneous innovation and ideas for change in some unusual places. So the idea is that if you give people autonomy, they can do the work, okay? So a lot of times when we talk about this company, one company sticks out that we never really mentioned here. And that company is Google, okay? Google has a management system where it's still a hierarchy. It still has top managers. But the idea of Google is you are looking for change, you're looking for innovation, and as long as people understand their project, their role, and their responsibility, they can do it anywhere at any time, okay? In fact, when you go to Google's head office and you take a tour, the whole office is a playground, okay? There's ping pong, there's video games, there's a 24-hour bar and cafe. It's basically like a resort, okay? You say to yourself, I'm a little bit tired, I want to go to the gym. There's a gym downstairs, meaning that you do your program, you're a little bit tired, go to the gym. Then you're kind of hungry, don't leave our office. You can go to the cafeteria, and the cafeteria is 24 hours, meaning that you can go in there in the middle of the night and someone will feed you a hot meal, okay? Or, I'm not sure if you guys seen this before, at Centennial, have you guys been to the nap room? Nap room? Nap. So Google's like a daycare. Yes, a daycare for older people. But
Where is the nap room?
there, near the cafeteria, there's a nap room where if a student is tired at Centennial, you can go and meditate there and sleep. I just found it because I didn't know where one of my classes were in the beginning of the semester. And it's all pitch dark. There's these cubicles and you can go to sleep for like 20 minutes, get some exercise and go back to work anytime or back to your classes, okay? But they do have that. So the idea here is that I think Saran mentioned that, is this Google shenanigans daycare? And it is, but there's something between it. They don't want you to leave, all right? They want you to stay there forever. And some people end up staying there forever, meaning that, they usually come to work at 9 o'clock and they stay at 11 o'clock. So when they're done, what they do, they go to the nap room, they sleep overnight there, go to the gym, take a shower, go to the cafeteria, have a meal, and lo and behold, they've been at Google for like, 5 days. They've never been out of their cave. And that's where spontaneous innovation comes. But is that ethical? Okay, it's telling somebody you could do what you want, but you know what you really want? You want to stay here, okay? So they're making you live in this little dome they call Google and trying to be as spontaneous as possible. Then it says good companies investing on training self-management to people. If not trained well, empowering is meaningless and is only in the American companies, not aware of any Canadian style though. Europeans are stingy and not willing to spend any money. Could be. Definitely, if you invest in people, they will be rewarded. I do feel that Europeans do invest in people, okay? Because they do have rewards in Europe and they do make sure that you get the breaks and you get what's needed. With Canadians, it's a little bit different because Canadians are connected to the American system, and sometimes the American system is a little bit more rigid, in my opinion. So building and managing an organization, another key that I want you guys to remember here is to equip everybody with their own profit and loss account, okay? Making sure that they can get profit, they know their losses, and of course, the road to self-management is paved to give people information. And this is very important. Would you guys want everybody in the company to know everything? Your loss, your profit, your secret ingredients. It's a little bit hard to take, but if you trust people, that should happen. And a lot of times when you look at emails, some emails are sent to everybody. Some emails by accident sent to people, and other times only specific people get emails, okay? And the key here with information, everybody needs this information to be successful. As long as they get information, they know where they stand, they can definitely self-manage themselves as easy as possible. Exactly. Transparency is essential, and self-managing organizations do that. Another thing that self-managing organization does, they look for ways to erase distinctions between those who manage, okay? They look to understand that I'm not a manager, I'm just an important individual in this company, but I have the same kind of right as you do, okay? Meaning that when we go into a project, I am part of the project as you are, okay? I have no hierarchy here. So when you have an objection, it means that I do not have the power. I just have the title at first, but at the same time, you and I, we have the same kind of hierarchy and there's no change in it. Then you have, of course, the freedom to succeed. And this is where the important part is. You want to make sure that people working around you increase their performance, are eager to work, meaning that they really want to come to work every single day. They appreciate the fast pace. They appreciate the performance that everybody puts in, but they can also have to appreciate irregularities, meaning that you work odd hours, and chaos, okay? Meaning that everybody is working on their own speed. And sometimes it means that, think of it like a highway system. Some people are driving 80, some people are driving 120, other people are driving 160. They're driving in their own speed, but at the same time, we're going to our goals. So it means that, of course, you have to merge with the traffic. And some people do it fantastic and go into the left lane and speed. Other people, they're still blinking, and some are even scared to go on the highway, okay? So the idea, if you want to create this self-managed, self-monitoring organization, there's 6 parts you have to do here, okay? Beyond looking at the agreement and being managed by your peers, you have to be more initiative. You cannot sit idle. You cannot clap when you really didn't do anything, okay? You have to be part of the program. You cannot sit still and just say, well, I work for a very successful company, I'll just put up my legs and not do anything. You have to come there with expertise, okay? You cannot just come there and say, someone train me. They will train you, but they expect that you have some knowledge. You show flexibility, making sure that you have a position, but you're also required to do other positions as well. You show a lot of collaboration and collaborativity, okay? And you create the best judgment, but most importantly, the advantages of self-management is to show loyalty, meaning that they will give you information, they will give you responsibility, they'll add it with autonomy, but at the end of the day, they want to make sure that you don't agree to it. Think about making the next Google and then leaving them. You want to make sure that you can stay with them for as long as possible, okay? However, guys, I've been keeping this for a while. There are disadvantages to self-management systems. And some of them, unfortunately, is that it's very tough to adjust, okay? If you have a current company and you're converting it into a self-management system, it's hard, okay? It's like telling somebody, we're going to convert to a new system, join us, okay? So it does take time. There's longer inductions because nobody knows when to start it. There is going to be problems on accountability because people do not know when their responsibility starts or ends. And sometimes when you put it together, the idea is good, but can you grow as this company? And what happens when you grow, right? How can you bring in more people? It will be very tough. And it becomes again and again and again. So even though you are bound to grow, all of a sudden you have a problem adjusting and the cycle comes back again and becomes a huge issue for self-management companies, okay? So the idea here is you want to make sure, as Morningstar mentioned, you want to manage versus managing. You want to make sure that as Morningstar is self-managed, you want to have people around the company that will give you the right tools, the right reinforcements, the right information, not false information where you create your own objectives, incentives that are very, very popular. You take ownership and accountability. You make sure that this company doesn't fly out of everywhere. You staff the people, right? You coach them even better. You plan and organize the company as need be. And then you manage different activities and resources, and you try to do it again and again and again and again, okay? So the idea at the end of the day, guys, is that a self-management system could be applied to any company in reality. It can be applied to a company like Morningstar that has, say, 10,000 people, or it can be done for 100,000 people, okay? Could it be done for other cultures and other companies? Who knows? Can it be done and done to competitive markets? Maybe, we're not sure, okay? But at the end of the day, I want you guys to read over Gary Hamel's review. I will have some questions in the last week, okay? So the last week of this current unit is going to be unit number 6. I'm going to give you guys the last week together. And then afterwards, I'm going to release a offering to give you guys choices between week 4, 5, or 6. Pick one of the case studies and then be able to do it. Okay, guys? All right, before we go, there is a reality I do want to mention here. There are companies that actually have done holacracy and self-management, okay? Some of them you may have heard about, some of you may have not have heard about. Impact Hub, maybe you've heard about. Zappos, which is for shoes. Rockstart, I heard about Menlo Innovations. But a lot of these companies, most of them, they are in technology, they are in innovation, and they are in software, okay? So it's actually workable to make sure that some of these companies could work for you as well, okay? All right, so please remember, guys, just as a closing statement here, please make the mission the boss, not the boss the mission, okay? Don't resort to somebody else making your ideas. Let employees forge agreements. Empower everybody in the truest way. Don't force people into boxes. Don't make people not feel comfortable in this open, holistic position. Encourage competition, not for promotion positions, but for impact and change. And you have freedom. And most importantly, freedom to succeed. You want to make clear targets. You want to have good calculation and advisory and consultation. You want to create good conflict resolutions and due process. And you want to be able to make sure that everything can be right and workable. Okay? Does anyone have any other questions? Any questions here? All right. If that does it, guys, I'm going to upload the next round of questions. So I'm going to give you guys these questions very, very shortly. Okay. It will be up and I will put it for you guys. So please look at it, review it, and then decide if you want to decide to pick these questions. By all means, it will be available. Please make sure that you look over them. And by all means, guys, good luck. Okay. Next week, guys, don't forget, I will release the first chapter on the do-it-yourself. Chapter number 2 is released. Chapter number 1 is still there. Please look over it and you'll be fine. Neda, you had a question?
I was wondering if it is possible that, or are you planning to give us the feedback of the first assignments soon? Because in that case, it will be easier for us to prepare for the second assignment.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, it was due this week. So I'm planning on marking them the whole weekend. So I will give you back some response, hopefully very soon. The only down part is that since I arrived in Centennial, my system the old system doesn't convert. So I may just give you a mark and a comment, but if you want to delve into it, we can have a one-on-one as well. Okay.
Oh, that's
So
great.
definitely I can do that as well with you guys.
That's great. Thank you.
You're very welcome. Any other questions? Nope, it's good. All right. So if everybody's good, I'll stick around till 3 o'clock. If not, guys, have a good one. And we got some fan mail coming straight from. Will the exam be in class or online? The exam will be online. Okay, so it will be in class time, but you guys can be wherever you are and do the test. All right. Ramon says, hi, Prof. Regarding about today's assignment due, we need to answer the selected option questions commonly or related to selected CEO styles. So, Ramon, I want you to answer the questions, but pick on CEO styles of companies. And then when you answer the questions, try to elaborate where need be. Okay. Don't focus only on CEOs, focus on the classroom conversation, your best practices experience, the CEO side, if you want to pick a CEO, and then put them together, okay? It's kind of making the salad, making the mixer. Okay. Any further question, guys? It's good. Okay, if everybody's good, guys, thank you so much. Have a good one. Was the test on week 7? Saran, we're currently week 5. Is the test in week 7? And the answer is yes. Was, we're not in the future yet. So it wasn't was, it was is. Is the test on week 7? And yes, it is. Week 7 is testing. All right. Thank you. You're welcome. Have a good one and take it easy. You too. All the best. Thank you, guys. As always, my pleasure.